Oobie-doo, it's everyone's favorite boomer and vintage lens enthusiast. I'm deep within my 50mm f1.4 period, and I guess you noticed that what I do is I go to a park during the daytime with a 1.4. I set it at f8, and then I just blast away. And you know what? I get really decent results, excellent results. They all do. So far. This one's no exception. And then I take it somewhere dark, like a town or a city, and I do some street scenes. And, well, if it's f1.4, well, how does this thing perform at f1.4? So that's the thing. Daylight, then dark. Daylight, then dark. Daylight, then dark. So I already did the daylight at the park, and now this session is going to be the Smc Pentax-A 1:1.4 50mm in the city at the dark. It's the end of the year, Christmas time. Everyone's got their festive lights up, and then we could see we shall see what this lens does, wide open. Now, right off the bat, I could thought, damn, it's hard to focus at f1.4, even with the magnifier, you know, the live magnifier at 10x, and I'm seeing this in every lens. If I focus and make point lights like of Christmas lights or something like that, and I make them the smallest they are and you think they're sharp, an extended object next to it like a sign or branches or something look blurry. And conversely, when I focus on the extended object like a sign or branches and I make them look sharp, then there's a lot of blooming in the lights. Part of the problem is it's dark, and if you're exposed for the dark, then the light highlights are going to overexpose, and you get funky artifacts. So, you know, what can I say? That's the nature of the beast. So, I went to Morristown, shot some pictures with this thing at night, wide open. Although I did stop down to f2.84, 5.6 for the couple. For longer exposures and playing games, especially when it got lighter out. And then I just stopped down anyway. And there's a big difference between f1.4 and f2.8. I mean, you know, it's a huge difference. Part of the problem is the contrast. If you're there when it's really dark, and then you expose for the shadows to get detail, then you are going to overexpose the highlights. Once it gets brighter out, and then there's less contrast between the bright and the darks, then everything looks a little bit better. Plus the fact that you stop down some. So that's the way it is. But briefly, this lens is in excellent, perfect condition. There's a slight little dent, but it's hard to see. And I don't have a lens hood on it right now, but you could put a lens hood or a filter on it. And I did use a lens hood and a filter in both the bright lights and in the darkness with this. Rather than explain all about it, there's always a link to the specifications of this lens. There you can see how many elements it's got, aperture blades, how much it weighs, what its dimensions are. But what I'm doing is, let's see, if you take all that, how many elements does it have? How many aperture blades does it have? What's the length? What's the width? What's the weight? Let's see, what does that mean? Does it take good pictures or not? Now this camera is a little noisy. I have to admit that. It does have some noise and some grain, even at 1250. And even though I have high ISO noise reduction on, I admit it's a little noisy. I mean, when you're pixel peeping. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. And then when you go to a place with mixed lighting that has like sodium vapor lights, mercury vapor lights, LED lights, halogen floodlights, it's hard to get the proper white balance. So it's just going to look funky because of that. So, and then I notice when I go to these places, it's dark. Even though it has all these lights lit up, there's still like deep shadows where it's hard to see. I took a picture of the three terrorists, and they're on a great lawn on the green. And when you're standing like on a sidewalk looking over, it looks like pitch black. You can see the silhouette of the three terrorists, and the lawn looks black. And the buildings may be lit up around the outside, but they're not overwhelmingly bright. But this thing is like a night vision combo, and it comes out really that you can see a lot of detail and identify things. So it's got that going for it. But why don't we just jump right into the pictures. But first I want to point something out. I'm complaining about this. You got to use the live view magnification. So you push this button and it zooms up, right? And then you have to hit this button. But in the dark, there's no tactile markings or something you can feel. You just got to start tapping the screen. So instead of, you see, when you keep tapping it, that's it. Now some cameras let you, you see what happened there? The little black outline with the yellow square went away, but you're still magnified. It didn't like go to regular mode, right? So let's do C. It didn't start out big. So you got to do this. And at night and in quick situations, you could fumble. There's no doubt about it. If only there was like a little notch here, like it could have put a plus or a minus there. It's like some sort of braille symbol, and then it would have helped while you're fumbling around, and rather than have to take your eye away from the viewfinder and look. So that's I'm only nitpicking with that. But all right, let's jump into some pictures. This is Morristown at night with the Smc Pentax-A went to 1.4 at f1.4 on the venerable Nikon Z50. I don't know what to think about 50mm f1.4s. It's such a challenge. See this South Park Place 202 sign? That's reasonably sharp, but the tree in back of it is blooming, and the tree in back of that looks sharp. Here's a Santa's Secret Sips, looks nice and sharp. I don't get it, you know. It doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. It's so hard to focus. I didn't nail the focus on this, so I just left this picture like that. And then the church looks reasonably sharp. The bark looks reasonably sharp, but the trees look blurry. Some of them look really blurry. Here's the bark is sharp. Some of the lights look sharp, and some of the lights are blooming. It could be the orientation, the envelope of the light bulb. Could have something to do with it. Look at psychic readings. Looks nice and sharp. And even though the storefronts are dark, it looks reasonably sharp. Reasonably. This church, I like the way this church comes out. I call it the Fortress of God. It looks like some sort of a, fortress. And, it's very photogenic church. And it's hard to take a good picture of it. Here's the manger, minus the baby Jesus. They don't put the baby Jesus out because everyone wants to steal him. I would tend to maybe steal one of the animals, like a lamb or a mule or something, but I outgrew that part of my life many, many years ago. Here's the sanctuary, looks pretty sharp, huh? And let's look at the B picture, magnified view, still looks sharp. Some of these I did an auto adjust on them, just to, snap in the contrast and brightness. Here's the three terrorists. This scene was so dark, I couldn't see what they were wearing. And those stores in the background were pretty dark, even though they're lit up. But this combination is like a night vision. That's exactly what it's like, night vision. And then I had this thing set to automatically pick the shutter speed for me, and I couldn't figure out what the camera was doing. So look at how blurry those lights are. Some of them are aberrated, but the sanctuary in back looks reasonably sharp. Oh, there's a star at the left-hand side of this tower, and that's not a chemtrail, is it? But then here, look how that's reasonably sharp. I'd take that as acceptable, without a doubt. And here I was parallel perpendicular to the storefront, and I think it came out really good. To look at the 10 and the lights on the inside. Now the other lights are reflecting off that mirror. They're distorted from the window. Here's Bella Oxmix and his dog Peaches. And this is pretty dark too. I mean, it did not look like that by eye. It looked dark. And this is some store. The trees are in the foreground. Then there's the door and the stuff in the background. And you can see needles on the tree if you look close enough. The Fortress of God again came out sharp. But look how blurry that tree is there. Huh? And here's a close-up of that church. And that came out really good. I'm very pleased with that. It all depends on the lighting, the contrast, and all the exposure. And all that good stuff. So f1.4 is some super challenge, without a doubt. They're not finished with this building. They're doing the interiors now. Now look at the storefronts look sharp, but all the lights are blooming. So I don't get it. you know, I don't know what to think. So you have to, if you want to take, you just got to take a lot of pictures, right? A lot of pictures, and see which ones come out good and keep them. This is very three-dimensional. There's the sanctuary in the front, and then here's the look at the statue figures next to the clock. They came out pretty good, I think. Here's another view. I want to get the store in the lower left-hand corner here. That's why I took this picture. Beanies. So, oh, I was doing I think I was doing a minus EV on these. I didn't put that in the data, but I went minus EV, like 1.5 or something, just so the highlights wouldn't bloom out. But then, you know, the shadows got darker. If I try to correct the shadows post-processing, they look blotchy. Now here's oh, this is f2.8. Look how sharp that is. Wow. And here's a close-up of it. Really nice. So 1 or 2 stops, boom, it's almost perfect. This is the same church, the Fortress of God. This is the front door or something. This is when I started to do intentional camera movement. Yeah, you know, you stop down at f4, kick down the ISO, get that long shutter speed, and then start doing crazy things. Now look at the Riker Danig, right? That's nice and sharp. Everything else looks sort of blurry. Why is that? I don't know. It must be a combination of what the camera is doing and the lens. Has to be. Here's a perfect example. Let's look at this tower, clock tower, nice and sharp. Yeah, some of them branches look sharp too. When they're silhouetted against the sky, they look sharp, but in front of the tower, they look blurry. Here's another intentional camera movement. They're trying to get artistic and everything. You know, what can I say? F4, slow ISO, slow shutter speed. Yeah, cool. And then I went all out. You know, yeah, let's see how weird can I get. I mean, the lights were there. I might as well do it. You know, they do with everything. Try and get the stills and then intentional camera movement. Can you imagine wearing a hat like that? Made of weird lights. Now here's a street scene down the street at f4. Dusk was breaking, morning dusk, right? And look at the Jersey Boy bagels. Wow, that's nice and sharp. You know, wow. Oh, the Grinch. They had a Grinch, but I guess he had fallen over. But it looked interesting the way he was like peering over the edge. And then here's the this thing. Check this out. Looks pretty good, huh? And then I went home, and these are not chemtrails because chemtrails do not exist. Right? It's a figment of your imagination, without a doubt. And here's some frost on one of my cars, which I thought came out pretty decent. Some more chemtrails that do not exist. Chemtrails do not exist. You know, don't even think about it. So here's this airplane. This is a 1:1 crop. Maybe it's a drone. It's hard to tell. Is that an airplane or not? I don't know. Oh, there's some frost on the window at 0.45 meters, just to see how it works. I had to adjust the contrast on these. Pretty heavy duty though. I still like the way they came out. So yeah, you know, it's a good lens, and f1.4 is a challenge. There's no getting around it. It's a challenge. You could get one, see if you like it.